A report has come out linking the Dallas Cowboys to a veteran tight end. Is a signing incoming? The Cowboys need this. They need something to happen. They need a shakeup after that blowout, terrible loss to the New Orleans Saints at Jerry's World. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Cowboys Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and today we'll be breaking down a report that came out linking the Dallas Cowboys to a veteran tight end who has had a decent track record in the National Football League. His best days may be behind him. However, this could help the Cowboys because we saw their lack of weapons yesterday. The offense wasn't the problem. The defense was the end-all, be-all issue that the Cowboys had in trying to overcome the Saints. However, when CeeDee Lamb went out of the game for one play, when Luke Schoonmaker was out of the game, there was just no options for Dak Prescott to go out there and make a play for his team. So getting a guy like this, a big target, could be a huge help. But before we get into the video, I want to let you know that around 85% of you are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. Hit the like button as well, because it doesn't cost you anything, and it means a ton to me. It helps the channel grow, and it allows me to make daily content for you guys, for all you Cowboy fans out there, every single day. So go ahead and do that. 85% of you are not subscribed. We got to get that number down. We got to be around the 50-50 mark, or ideally everyone that's watching is subscribed, because you don't want to miss out on this content right here. But let's get straight into it. And the report that came out is from an NFL insider here. While things are looking up for Jake Ferguson, the Dallas Cowboys could cover all their bases by signing a former New York Jets tight end, CJ Uzomah. Uzomah has had a rough offseason coming into the 2024 campaign, but the free agent would be an ideal signing for a team like the Cowboys. Ferguson avoided a major injury during Week 1. More on that below, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. If Dallas does decide they need to reinforce the tight end group, there may not be a better option than Uzomah. Uzomah was recently released by the Philadelphia Eagles, but failed to make their roster. The former Auburn Tiger has never exploded in terms of production, but has 192 receptions, 1,891 receiving yards, and 16 touchdowns to his name. So, of course, we're talking about CJ Uzomah here, who you see had his best season in 2021 with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. Now, he's always been sort of that safety blanket type of target there for quarterbacks, and a veteran tight end like this doesn't hurt. Now, what I will say is that Luke Schoonmaker was fantastic yesterday, and positives from this one are slim pickings, but Luke Schoonmaker is definitely one of them, and he made that nice one-handed catch early on in the game in the first quarter. He allowed Dak Prescott sort of a safety valve, but he's no Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson was a Pro Bowler last year, and he's so important to what the Cowboys try to do on offense. Like, he's the number 2 target. There's no doubting that. And especially with the lack of a run game this year, with no Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle are pretty much sharing the load. I figure we got to see Dalvin Cook here soon, just to shake some things up offensively, because Zeke and Dowdle, they've been okay in the first 2 games, but haven't really gotten anything going individually. So they've been a decent tandem, but I feel like maybe throwing Dalvin Cook in there could offer them a different look that they didn't have. Now, we'll take a look at this screenshot right here. I'd be happy to be wrong. Jake Ferguson is not playing on Sunday, which he did not play on Sunday. I would bet money he is more likely to hit the IR than he is to play this Sunday. So, obviously, the game went by. Jake Ferguson was not in the lineup. And they need something. It was a rough watch yesterday from start to finish. And again, I'm not blaming the offense for the defense giving up all of those points and giving up 35 points in the first half and 6 touchdowns on their first 6 possessions for the New Orleans Saints. It was just a pitiful defensive showing. It was a no-show. Mike Zimmer made no adjustments. Mike McCarthy looked confused on the sideline like he usually does. So, just something needs to change here. And maybe bringing in CJ Uzomah, who has had some decent seasons in the National Football League, could be a nice addition to this team. I don't think it puts them over the hump. Don't get me wrong about that, but at the end of the day, he's still a veteran wide receiver, and Luke Schoonmaker had his first start in the National Football League yesterday, whereas Uzomah, you could see, has had a handful of starts, many starts in his National Football League career. 8 starts in 2023 with the Jets, 13 in 2022, 16, then 16 in 2019. So he's definitely been around, and he has that ability to make plays and be a safety blanket for a quarterback. But apart from Schoonmaker and CeeDee Lamb yesterday, I mean, Jalen Tolbert was okay. He actually made a couple of really nice plays, that long catch and then recovering the fumble. So it was great to see him get into the mix. But then you got Brooks, who's tripping over his own feet on a cross route, which ends up resulting in an interception and more points put on the board right before halftime by New Orleans. So there's just not many reliable options out there. Brandon Cooks didn't notice him too much yesterday after a pretty solid week 1 showing in Cleveland. Like, there's just inconsistency here. You know exactly what you're getting out of CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the premier receivers in the game. But after that, there's a pretty steep drop-off, especially if Jake Ferguson is not in the lineup. So again, I don't think Uzomah is the end-all, be-all solution here. I don't even think he plays once Jake Ferguson gets back into the mix, which should be in a couple of weeks. But this quote right here, that he's likely to hit the IR, then he has to play Sunday, that to me stood out. I mean, there was obviously no chance that he was going to play yesterday, but the fact that there's even a possibility that he hits the IR, that's a little bit concerning, and maybe the Cowboys don't get out of that sequence of games if they don't have Jake Ferguson or another reliable tight end or a pass catcher in their offense. Like, it's not time to panic yet because it's only week 2 and there's still a lot of runway left to go. But the Cowboys did not do themselves any favors yesterday. At home against the New Orleans Saints, big-time favorites, 6.5-point favorites heading into the contest, and they just get walloped like they did. It's despicable. That cannot be happening, especially not at AT&T Stadium. If it was at New Orleans and you just came out flat, fine. But you're at home, a place where you have been so comfortable in the last couple of years, and you just lay an egg like that, it can't be happening. Now, I know it's not time to panic because the Ravens are 0-2 also. They lost yesterday to the Las Vegas Raiders, and they lost in week 1 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's been a lot of teams that are underperforming that are still in the race. Like, it's not over. The season is not over, okay? Let's not get to that point yet. Let's not make ourselves depressed before the playoffs roll around, okay? So let's roll with the punches here, but still, the Cowboys need some weapons on offense. They need some more weapons on defense, because what they had going yesterday for them just was not cutting it. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of Cowboys Digest. Again, guys, make sure to hit the subscribe button because around 85% of you who are watching these videos are not subscribed, and it helps me out a ton, allows me to make daily content for you. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and give me your thoughts. Do you think the Cowboys should pursue CJ Uzomah in free agency, or should they just stand pat and hopefully figure things out heading into next week against Baltimore, who are going to be a very hungry football team after starting the season 0-2? But that'll wrap it up. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.